I am a brony. Someone who likes My Little Pony. A few years back on my university friends gave me an article about 6 girls who went to the same school and died on the same day. When I was watching some episodes and I could see a resemblance between those girls and the main 6 characters in the show, the first girl was Samantha Gals, who is obviously an inspiration for Fluttershy, a shy, kind girl. But what did her classmate didn't know was that she was constantly mistreated at home. Her mother and stepfather by her mother and stepfather. Her mother gave birth to her when she was only 15, and she said that she had ruined her life. And when her stepfather moved in, the mistreatment seemed to get worse. He never liked to look after Samantha when her mother was away, so he used to lock her up in their basement, sometimes for a whole day. Her mother accepted the fact that Samantha was locked up in the basement. As the age got older, Samantha's mother would often then yell at her for speaking the out of the term. And when she got her half-sister, it got worse. She would be starved and forced to sleep outside and sometimes being out of right. Because she was dressed in poor clothes and had no self-respect, she was often a target for bullying. She would come home helpless animals and bring them to her family, so then her family would force her to get rid of them. She took her own life by an overdose, and I didn't know what type of overdose she had. Jennifer Walters, who is also one of the popular girls, came from a rich, beautiful family. She lived in a life that everybody wanted, but her parents constantly argued since they only seemed to be together at appearances. She was held up into a high standard, which made her almost a perfectionist. She always wanted a famous fashion designer and live in Paris, but her parents wanted her to stay in California and marry a proper man with lots of money. Her parents ignored her every single moment and only wanted to appear rich. Now, to be honest, the reason her wealth, and is the only reason why Jennifer's mother had married her dad, was because of money, and they were losing it fast. She died in a car crash when the parents were arguing again. On the impact, her neck snapped, and she died instantly. She was clearly an inspiration for Rarity. Alexandra Matthews was a competitive girl. She would mostly play with her father because he wanted a boy to treat her like a boy, constantly playing football and soccer. In school, she was the best at sports, especially at track. She loved her parents with all of her might, and she was more pleased to play sports. She was continued to be treated like a boy because her mother thought it incapable to have another child. Her athletic ability was made of that her popular, and by that time it was high school, she was already being searched out by scouts across the country. By when her mother had a baby boy, she wasn't paying much attention to it anymore. She kept on trying to push her limits. She did push them too far, and at one point she did started to take drugs, and it only made things worse since she had genetic heart disease. Despite it, she kept on trying, and she died during a race from a heart attack halfway through. She was clearly the inspiration for Rainbow Dash. The inspiration of Applejack was from this farm girl named Nikki Taylor. She lived with her mom and dad and her 10 older brothers and sisters, and her family was very poor. Nikki did even work 3 jobs to help raise money. She always helped out around the farm when if it was need of changing diapers, to using a wood chipper. She would always get help from her older brother Michael. But then when she was 13, her father went on a mad rampage, so she managed to kill all 4 of Nikki's siblings and her mother and then himself. She then thought of this because he had 12 kids to look after and a farm. But Nikki tried to make the best of things at the farm at this point. Was run down and anything could kill her. When her parents died, her great aunt came to help, but she wasn't much at all. She died at the age of 16. She wasn't at school and taking care of her siblings and the farm. Her death was very bloody because she fell into a wood chipper while not paying attention. Jamie Sanders was an inspiration for Pinkie Pie. When she was about 5, her father killed her mother and then himself after, like Samantha, she was mistreated and was forced into foster care in a very good home. The night had terrors about her mother screaming and her father threatening her and saying that she would be next. Every night of the same, and every night of terror would break into insanity out into millions of shards. And during the middle school, people thought that she had a hyperactive personality. and she would normally dress up in over-top clothing. She then died when she jumped off the building, and one of the voices in her head said that she could fly. And the inspiration for Twilight Sparkle, her name was Alex Peterson. Patterson. She grew up in a family of 4. She wasn't very given much attention because of her older brother, who was exceeding in all of his studies, so she became a genius as well. Her parents loved bragging about her children being geniuses. During high school, Alex was under a lot of pressure and was caught cheating. She took her own life because she thought that she was a disappointment.